There's something haunting about the silence of ancient ruins, the way the wind hums through crumbling arches, the way shadows cling to forgotten carvings, like they're guarding secrets too vast to speak aloud. Picture yourself running your fingers over the grooves of a stone wall, each scratch and symbol telling a story no modern historian can fully translate. What if these markings aren't just art or language? What if they're instructions, warnings, or even blueprints for something far beyond our understanding? Across every continent, cultures that never could have met share eerily similar legends, doorways to other worlds, gateways opened by rituals lost to time, travelers who vanished into thin air, only to return with tales of impossible places. These aren't just campfire stories, they're echoes of something deeper, something hidden in the bones of the past. Think of the most enduring mysteries of history, the sudden collapse of advanced civilizations, the unexplained precision of megalithic structures, the artifacts that seem to defy their own timelines. Could the answer lie in the idea that our ancestors knew more about the fabric of reality than we've ever dared to guess? From the labyrinthine tunnels beneath Turkey's Derinkuyu to the celestial alignments of Angkor Wat, there are places on this earth that feel less like monuments and more like machines built not just to honor the gods, but to reach them. And then there are the accounts that churn your stomach. Explorers who swear they stepped through a doorway in the jungle and found themselves somewhere else entirely, or archaeologists who uncovered chambers that shouldn't exist according to every map and record. These stories aren't just anomalies, they are breadcrumbs. So what if the greatest secret of antiquity isn't buried treasure or lost technology, but something far stranger? What if the ruins we've been excavating for centuries are merely the outer shells of something we're only beginning to comprehend? This is the heart of ancient portal theories, a field that doesn't just rewrite history, it unravels it. Over the next hour, we'll piece together the evidence, the carvings that mirror modern physics, the vanishing acts recorded in temple texts, the sacred sites that hum with energy science can't explain. By the end, you won't just see these ruins as relics of the past, you'll see them as questions ones we're only now learning how to ask, so lean in, listen closely. The stones are speaking, and what they're saying changes everything. The idea of portals isn't just the stuff of fantasy, it's woven into the very fabric of ancient belief systems. Take the famed Gate of the Gods in Peru, a massive stone doorway carved into solid rock. Local legends say it was a passage used by deities to move between worlds, and those who knew the secret could vanish through it, never to return. Then there's Egypt's Abydos, where temple walls are covered in hieroglyphs depicting what some researchers argue are stargates, devices for traversing the cosmos. These aren't isolated tales. The Norse spoke of Bifröst, a shimmering bridge to Asgard. The Celts described thin places where the veil between realms grew fragile. Even the Dogon people of Mali, with their astonishing astronomical knowledge, claimed their ancestors arrived from the stars through a cosmic doorway. But here's where it gets chilling. Modern technology has detected anomalies at these sites, fluctuations in electromagnetic fields, strange acoustic resonances, even pockets of radiation that defy explanation. In Turkey's Göbekli Tepe, a site dating back nearly 12,000 years, researchers found stone pillars arranged in precise alignments that channel seismic energy, almost as if the structure was designed to resonate with the earth itself. And at Rajasthan's Kuldhara, an abandoned village rumored to be cursed, visitors report sudden drops in temperature and the faint sound of distant chanting phenomena that science struggles to rationalize. Could these be the lingering effects of ancient portal technology, or echoes of rituals meant to open pathways we no longer understand, the most compelling part. These stories and structures share uncanny similarities despite oceans and millennia separating the cultures that created them. How did civilizations with no possible contact describe near-identical gateways? Why do so many myths speak of a golden age when gods walked among humans, only to later seal the doors between worlds? Some researchers suggest these portals weren't just spiritual symbols, but functional devices, tools for accessing higher dimensions or distant planets. Even Plato hinted at this, writing of Atlantis' advanced knowledge of subterranean passages and sacred portals. Whether metaphor or lost science, one thing is clear: our ancestors believed these gateways were real. And if even a fraction of their claims hold truth, we've been overlooking the most profound secret of human history. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as more than just a tomb. It's a riddle carved in stone. Its alignment to true north is more precise than the Greenwich Observatory in London, built thousands of years later. The shafts inside point directly to Orion's belt and Sirius, stars central to Egyptian mythology. But what if these weren't just symbolic gestures? What if they were coordinates? The so-called Stargate hypothesis suggests these structures functioned as literal gateways, their precise geometries tapping into energies or frequencies that could bend space itself. Ancient texts like the Pyramid texts speak of pharaohs ascending through these star corridors, joining the gods in realms beyond our own. The descriptions are startlingly specific references to doors of the sky, flames that do not burn, and paths opened by the voices of the priests. Then there's the eerie consistency across cultures. In Mesopotamia, the Etemenanki ziggurat was said to be a link between heaven and earth, its 7 tiers vibrating with a song of the gods. The Mayans built pyramids that channeled celestial energy during solstices, creating light phenomena that still baffle engineers. Even the Hindu Vedas describe Vimana's flying machines entering and exiting through hidden doorways in the sky. These parallels are too precise to dismiss as mere myth. Modern experiments add fuel to the fire. Studies at the Great Pyramid have detected unexplained electromagnetic pulses deep within its chambers, strongest at dawn on the equinoxes, the very times ancient texts say the gates were most receptive. The most provocative evidence lies in the construction itself. How did civilizations without modern tools achieve such flawless precision? The stones at Baalbek in Lebanon weigh hundreds of tons, yet they're fitted together so tightly you can't slip a razor blade between them. Sacsayhuaman in Peru features zigzagging walls where massive boulders interlock like puzzle pieces, surviving earthquakes that toppled Spanish cathedrals built atop them. Engineers argue this isn't just craftsmanship, it's resonance control. These structures may have been tuned, like instruments, to vibrate at frequencies that interacted with Earth's own energy grid. Some theorists go further, suggesting the ancients knew how to manipulate gravity or even space-time, using harmonics we're only now rediscovering. Yet skeptics ask, if portals existed, where's the physical proof? The answer might lie in what we're not allowed to see. Remote viewing sessions declassified by the CIA describe anomalous arches beneath the Giza plateau, while whistleblowers from archaeological digs whisper of chambers sealed off by governments, their contents labeled beyond classification. Even mainstream scholars admit less than 40% of Egypt's known sites have been excavated. The truth could be waiting, buried in plain sight. So were these monuments tombs, temples, or something far more extraordinary? The Stargate hypothesis forces us to reconsider not just history, but the nature of reality itself. If even a fraction of these claims hold weight, our ancestors may have left us not just relics, but a roadmap, one written in stone, stars, and the silent hum of energies we're only beginning to measure. Now consider the earth beneath your feet not as solid ground, but as a vast, pulsing network threaded with invisible currents of energy. These are ley lines, the hidden veins of the planet said to connect sacred sites across continents. From the standing stones of Karnak in France to the pyramids of Teotihuacan, ancient builders erected their most awe-inspiring monuments precisely where these lines intersect. It's no accident that Stonehenge's massive blue stones, transported hundreds of miles, were placed where telluric energies converge. Modern instruments have measured strange fluctuations at these spots, sudden spikes in electromagnetic activity, magnetic anomalies that make compass needles spin wildly, even bursts of infrared radiation with no apparent source. What if these sites weren't just places of worship but gigantic machines? The theory goes deeper. At Machu Picchu, the Intihuatana stone, often called the hitching post of the sun, aligns perfectly with solstices, but it also sits atop a nexus of intersecting ley lines. Shamans still speak of feeling a vibration when touching it, as if the stone itself is alive with energy. Similar accounts come from visitors at Sedona's vortex sites or the labyrinthine tunnels beneath Malta's hypogeum, where recordings of human voices mysteriously shift pitch, as if the very air is charged with something beyond our understanding. The most compelling evidence lies in the patterns. Ley lines don't just connect random points, they form geometric grids spanning the globe, mirroring the sacred geometry found in everything from flower petals to galaxies. The Great Pyramid sits at the intersection of two major ley lines, forming a perfect 30-degree angle with the Nazca lines and Angkor Wat. Coincidence? Or a blueprint? Ancient texts from China's Feng Shui masters to Europe's druids describe manipulating these earth energies for healing, divination, and most intriguingly, travel between worlds. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia speak of song lines, invisible pathways crisscrossing the land that allowed ancestors to navigate vast distances instantly, as if space itself folded at their command. Skeptics argue ley lines are mere imagination, yet the anomalies persist. In the 80s, a team of physicists surveying Avebury stone circles detected ultrasonic frequencies emanating from the ground at dawn, frequencies that matched the resonant frequency of human DNA. At Bolivia's Puma Punku, where precision-cut stones fit together like cosmic jigsaw pieces, locals whisper of doorways that hummed when the stars were right. Even Nikola Tesla speculated that the Earth's natural grid could be harnessed for energy transmission, calling it a natural symphony of power. So were these sites built to amplify energies we've forgotten how to measure? Imagine standing at the heart of a ley line intersection during a solar eclipse when the Earth's magnetic field dips. Might the conditions align to reveal something hidden? The stones themselves seem to hold the answer. Carvings at Newgrange in Ireland depict spirals that match the flow of electromagnetic energy around these nodes, while Tibetan monks still use copper singing bowls tuned to the frequency of sacred mountains to open the way. Whether portals or power stations, one truth emerges: the ancients didn't just build on the land. They built with it, and somewhere in that forgotten dialogue between stone and sky, the secret of these doorways may still be waiting. Now imagine standing in the echoing chambers of Malta's hypogeum, a labyrinth carved from solid rock over 5,000 years ago. Speak even a whisper and your voice swirls around you, amplified into something otherworldly, a deep, resonant hum that seems to vibrate through your bones. This isn't just clever architecture, it's precision engineering. Certain frequencies in these chambers don't just echo, they multiply, creating standing waves that modern researchers can't fully explain. Local legends speak of priests who used these sounds to call down the gods, their chants shaking the walls until doorways shimmered into existence. And Malta isn't alone. From the booming chambers beneath Mexico's Chichen Itza to the harmonic stone circles of Britain, ancient builders crafted spaces where sound behaves in ways that defy physics. The science behind this is as chilling as it is profound. In the 1960s, researchers discovered that specific frequencies, especially those between 95 and 120 Hz, can alter human brain activity, inducing trance-like states or even visions. Coincidentally, these same frequencies are the ones that resonate most powerfully in the hypogeum's oracle chamber, a room where voices seem to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Even more startling, modern experiments with cymatics, the study of visible sound vibrations, show that these tones can physically reshape matter, forming intricate geometric patterns in sand or water. Could ancient priests have known this? Did they use sound not just as ritual but as a tool, a literal key to bending reality? Consider the accounts of Tibetan monks whose deep, multi-tonal chants are said to open the air during sacred ceremonies. Or the Aboriginal songlines where specific melodies were believed to collapse distance, allowing travelers to cross vast landscapes in moments. Even the Bible describes the walls of Jericho falling after 7 days of trumpet blasts. A story that takes on new meaning when you realize the exact frequency needed to shatter stone lines with the harmonics of those ancient instruments. The common thread, vibration, not as metaphor but as physics. The most compelling evidence lies in the ruins themselves. At Peru's Moray, circular terraces sink into the earth like giant stone speakers, each level producing a distinct echo that harmonizes with the others. In Egypt, the so-called resonance boxes found near the Great Pyramid emit ultrasonic pulses when struck, frequencies modern technology can barely measure. And at Ireland's Newgrange, the narrow passageway acts like a sound funnel, amplifying solstice chants into a roar that shakes the entire mound. These aren't accidents. They're blueprints, so what were the ancients really doing? Some theorists suggest these sites were frequency generators, designed to resonate with the Earth's own vibrations, creating standing waves powerful enough to warp spacetime itself. Others point to the eerie similarity between these sacred frequencies and the Schumann resonance, the natural electromagnetic pulse of our planet. Maybe these chambers weren't just for worship. Maybe they were machines tuned to the heartbeat of the Earth, waiting for the right voice, the right note, to wake them. The question isn't whether sound can move stone. We know it can. The question is whether it can move something far more elusive, the invisible barriers between worlds. And if the legends are true, the proof might still be ringing in the walls of these ruins, if only we learn how to listen. Deep within the ruins of ancient civilizations, a shimmering thread connects them all: crystals. Not just as decorations or talismans, but as tools. Quartz veins snake through the walls of Egypt's pyramids. Piezoelectric materials like granite form the heart of Inca temples, and legends from the Mayans to the Hindus speak of living stones that hummed with power. These aren't coincidences. When pressure or vibration is applied to quartz, it generates electricity, a phenomenon we call the piezoelectric effect. Modern tech uses this for everything from watches to sonar, but what if the ancients understood it first? Take the Ark of the Covenant, described in the Bible as a gold-plated chest so dangerous it could strike down those who touched it. Some researchers propose it wasn't divine wrath but physics, a capacitor lined with quartz, building lethal charges as it was carried. The Dead Sea Scrolls even hint at stones of fire placed inside, possibly crystals tuned to amplify energy. Similar stories echo globally. The Aboriginal Dreamtime speaks of rainbow serpents emerging from sacred quartz deposits, while Tibetan monks still place singing bowls on crystal slabs to open portals of wisdom. The parallels are too precise to ignore. Then there's the mystery of Baalbek's megaliths. These 1,000-ton stones, precision cut and fitted, sit atop a bedrock laced with quartz. Engineers have long wondered how such massive blocks were moved, but local lore offers a clue. Legends say the stones became light when priests chanted near them. Could quartz's piezoelectric properties, activated by sound vibrations, have temporarily altered their weight? Experiments at Stanford have shown that certain frequencies can reduce friction in stone, a phenomenon dubbed acoustic levitation. It sounds like magic until you realize the science mirrors temple inscriptions word for word. The most compelling evidence lies in the artifacts themselves. In the ruins of Atlantis' alleged outpost in the Azores, divers found crystal batteries, layers of quartz and copper wire dating back over 12,000 years. The Maya used jade resonators in their ceremonial headdresses, precisely carved to vibrate at frequencies that induce trance states. Even Plato wrote of Atlantis' great crystal orbs that harnessed the Earth's breath. Were these metaphors or manuals? Modern labs are now testing these theories. When quartz crystals are exposed to specific electromagnetic fields, they produce torsion waves, a type of energy some physicists believe could bend space-time. It's the same principle behind theories of warp drives, and eerily similar to descriptions in the Vedas of Vimanas powered by Mercury vortex engines. The Hopi prophecy speaks of a coming age when the crystals in the earth will sing again, unlocking dormant doorways. Maybe they weren't predicting the future, but reminding us of the past. So next time you hold a piece of quartz, remember, it's not just a rock, it's a key. One that might still turn in the locks of ruins we've yet to understand. The question isn't whether crystals have power. Science already proves they do. The question is whether we've forgotten how to listen to what they've been trying to tell us for millennia. Some of the most chilling stories from ancient sites aren't about what's left behind, but what vanishes without a trace. Take the case of a British tourist who stepped into a roped-off chamber at Puma Punku in the 1970s, only to stumble out moments later, or so it seemed. His watch had stopped, his clothes were sun-bleached, and his passport showed a stamp dated 5 years in the future. Local guides nodded knowingly, murmuring about the stone that eats time. Similar accounts echo from the Bermuda Triangle's underwater ruins to the labyrinth beneath Crete's Knossos Palace, places where visitors swear they lost hours, days, or even years in what felt like minutes. What if these aren't just tall tales? Physics offers eerie possibilities. Einstein's theories suggest gravity can warp time, and quantum experiments show particles appearing in two places at once. Now imagine ancient builders harnessing these principles unknowingly. The basalt blocks at Puma Punku, cut with laser-like precision, contain minerals that generate electromagnetic fields when stressed. The Bermuda Triangle sits atop a tectonic junction where magnetic anomalies spike during solar storms. Even Stonehenge's bluestones, dragged from Wales, emit rare radio frequencies when struck by moonlight. Coincidence or carefully engineered conditions that twist time itself? Historical records add weight to the mystery. A 9th century Tibetan monk wrote of entering a sacred cave and emerging to find his village unrecognizable, his family long dead. Spanish conquistadors described Inca priests vanishing into temple walls during solstice ceremonies, reappearing days later with skin glowing like embers. Most haunting are the modern reports. Archaeologists at Teotihuacan who documented a team member walking into the pyramid of the sun's shadow and never walking out despite exhaustive searches. These stories share uncanny details: sudden temperature drops, a buzzing in the air, and distortions in light, as if reality itself stutters. Skeptics dismiss these as hoaxes or hallucinations, but the patterns defy easy explanation. Over 80% of time slip accounts occur at sites built on ley line intersections. during geomagnetic storms or celestial alignments. Laboratory experiments show that strong electromagnetic fields can disrupt human perception of time, while declassified CIA files reveal Cold War tests where subjects exposed TO Chinese letter frequencies reported losing hours. Perhaps the ancients didn't just worship the stars, they mimicked their rhythms, creating structures that sync with cosmic pulses we're only beginning to measure. The most provocative theory comes from indigenous elders. Hopi guides whisper that places like Sedona or Uluru aren't just sacred, they're soft spots where the world's layers wear thin. Aboriginal Dreamtime stories describe ancestors stepping through rock walls into the forever, returning with knowledge of events yet to come. Even the Bible's account of Elijah being taken to heaven in a chariot of fire mirrors modern descriptions of ball lightning, a phenomenon linked to temporal distortions. So were these sites designed as time machines, maybe not intentionally, but if crystals can store data and sound can shape matter, why couldn't megaliths precisely arranged and vibrating at Earth's own frequency act as accidental portals? The stones never stopped working, we just forgot how to listen, and somewhere in the static between past and present, the truth might still be flickering. The carvings at Abu Ghurab in Egypt show figures with elongated skulls holding what look like advanced tools, objects eerily similar to modern plasma torches. Halfway across the world, the Mayan sarcophagus lid of Palenque depicts King Pakal seated inside a vehicle with flames shooting from its base, his hand on controls that mirror a spacecraft's throttle. These aren't isolated oddities. From the star maps of ancient Sumer to the Dogon tribe's precise knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye, cultures separated by oceans and millennia share stories of sky beings who descended with gifts of impossible knowledge. The common thread: these visitors didn't just teach, they built. Take the mystery of Sacsayhuaman's zigzagging walls in Peru. The massive stones fit together so precisely that not even a blade of grass can slip between them, yet they were carved without metal tools. Local legends say the builders softened the stone with a liquid from the stars, while Spanish chroniclers recorded Inca tales of golden ships bringing teachers who instructed them in geometry. Even more startling is the chemical analysis of mortar samples from these sites, traces of rare earth metals like iridium, often found in meteorites. Could these teachers have been extraterrestrial engineers, sharing not just knowledge but materials? The architectural leaps are undeniable. Göbekli Tepe predates agriculture by thousands of years, yet its builders aligned 20-ton pillars to celestial events with pinpoint accuracy. The sudden sophistication of Egypt's pyramids, from crude mastobas to the geometrically perfect Great Pyramid in under a century, defies conventional timelines. Then there's the Antikythera mechanism, a 2,000-year-old Greek computer that tracked planetary movements with gearwork rivaling 18th-century clocks. These weren't gradual innovations. They appear in the archaeological record like footprints in wet concrete, immediate, deep, and unexplained. But the most compelling evidence might lie in the portals themselves. The Vedas describe Vimanas navigating through hidden doorways in the sky, while Babylonian texts speak of the Apsu, a watery dimension accessed via gates guarded by winged beings. At Turkey's Mount Nemrut, the colossal stone heads stare not at the horizon, but upward as if awaiting a return. Even the Bible's account of Jacob's ladder, with angels ascending and descending between realms, mirrors Sumerian cylinder seals showing beings using a spiraling staircase to travel between Earth and the heavens. Modern researchers are taking these claims seriously. Declassified Pentagon reports analyzed metallic alloys recovered from ancient sites, finding isotopic ratios inconsistent with terrestrial origin. Meanwhile, astrophysicists theorize that wormholes, theoretical shortcuts through spacetime, could be stabilized using exotic matter, a concept hauntingly similar to the philosopher's stone. Alchemists believed could open the gates of heaven. Whether these visitors were aliens, interdimensional beings, or a lost advanced civilization, one thing is clear: the stones they left behind still hum with questions we're only beginning to ask. And somewhere in the static between myth and science, the truth may be waiting, not buried, but hovering just beyond reach. Beneath the sun-scorched deserts and dense jungles of our world lies a hidden labyrinth, a network of tunnels so vast it makes modern subway systems look like child's scribbles. The Hopi spoke of the Ant people, benevolent beings who guided their ancestors through these subterranean highways during times of catastrophe. Tibetan monks still whisper of Agartha, a kingdom of light hidden beneath the Himalayas, accessible only through secret passages guarded by ancient seals. Even the Greeks warned of the underworld not as a myth, but as a place with real, physical entrances like the cave at Cape Matapan, where Hercules was said to have dragged Cerberus up from the depths. These stories aren't just folklore, they're fragments of a global memory pointing to something buried. The physical evidence is staggering. Beneath the Giza plateau, ground-penetrating radar has revealed chambers and passageways stretching for miles, some large enough to fit cathedrals. In Ecuador, explorer Juan Morix claimed to have found a metallic library deep inside Teo's cave, its walls lined with panels of an unknown alloy, etched with symbols matching those in Mesopotamia. Turkey's Derinkuyu isn't just an underground city. It's a 12-level metropolis with ventilation shafts reaching the surface, built to house 20,000 people. And here's the chilling detail: these tunnels aren't random, they connect. Derinkuyu links to Cappadocia's other subterranean cities through passages that align with ley lines, while legends say similar tunnels once ran beneath Atlantis, connecting temples across the continent. What were these tunnels really for? The answer might lie in their construction. Many are lined with quartz-rich granite, a stone that amplifies electromagnetic energy. Others, like the Cu Kai tunnels in Vietnam, produce strange acoustic effects, whispers traveling impossibly far, or sounds seeming to come from the walls themselves. In the Andes, locals speak of shining paths beneath Sacsayhuamon, where priests could step through the stone during solstices. Modern physicists have a term for this: quantum tunneling, the idea that particles can pass through solid barriers, UNDER Chinese letter conditions. Could the ancients have scaled this phenomenon up using earth energies, sound frequencies, and crystalline structures to create portals through rock? The most compelling accounts come from those who have ventured deep. A team surveying tunnels beneath Bosnia's Pyramid of the Sun in 2005 reported their compasses spinning wildly before failing entirely. One member described seeing a glowing archway at the tunnel's end, only for it to vanish when approached. In India, the Bora caves contain natural formations that emit ultrasonic pulses, the same frequencies used in lab experiments to manipulate gravity. Even more unsettling are the reports from urban explorers who have stumbled onto sealed passages beneath cities like New York and Rome, where air currents move against all logic, as if something deep below is still breathing. Skeptics argue these are natural cave systems repurposed by humans, but the precision defies coincidence. Malta's hypogeum, carved from solid limestone, has chambers engineered to resonate at frequencies that induce visions. The Longyu Caves in China feature 36 artificial grottos with walls angled to refract light in ways that create holographic illusions. And then there's the recurring motif in ancient texts: gates. The Egyptian Book of the Dead describes 7 underworld gates guarded by deities, each requiring a specific sound or gesture to pass. The Maya painted similar thresholds in their codices, showing rulers descending into Xibalba through doorways that ripple like water. So were these tunnels burial sites, hiding places, or something far stranger? The sheer consistency across cultures suggests a shared truth, that beneath our feet lies not just rock but a forgotten technology. Perhaps the underworld was never meant for the dead. Perhaps it was a transit system waiting for the right key to turn in the lock. And if even a fraction of these legends hold weight, we've been walking over the world's greatest secret for millennia, unaware that the real mysteries don't rise toward the sky but descend into the earth. High in the Andes, where the air thins and the sky presses close, a 7-meter-tall rectangle is carved with impossible precision into the sheer face of Xibalba mountain. This is the Doorway of Aramumuru, a smooth, recessed panel with a smaller door at its center, so finely cut that even today's masons struggle to explain how it was done. But here's what chills the bones. This isn't just a rock carving. Local shamans insist it's a stargate, once used by gods to step between worlds, now dormant but not dead. They speak of elders who have seen the doorway flicker to life during certain solstices, the stone turning translucent as if lit from within, and the most haunting detail. The smaller inner door isn't just symbolic, it's exactly the size and shape of the golden discs described in Inca legends, artifacts said to be keys for opening portals. This isn't an isolated myth. Egypt's tombs are lined with false doors, intricate carvings meant to serve as passages for the soul into the afterlife. But at Saqqara, archaeologists found one such door that defies explanation, a slab emitting low-frequency vibrations, its surface covered in hieroglyphs describing the moment the stone breathes. In China's Forbidden City, similar spirit gates stand at palace thresholds, designed not just to ward off evil but to filter realities, the common thread. These structures aren't random, they're precise. Aramumuru's frame aligns perfectly with the winter solstice sunrise, casting light into the inner recess in a way that makes the entire doorway seem to hover. The stone itself is andesite, a volcanic rock rich in quartz, a mineral we now know can store and amplify energy. Modern explorers have tried to test the legends. In 1996, a team brought ground-penetrating radar to Aramumuru and found something startling. A hollow space behind the door, extending deep into the mountain, with metallic readings that spike during geomagnetic storms. One researcher placed his palms against the smaller inner door and reported feeling a pulse, like a heartbeat echoing through the stone. Similar accounts come from Egypt's Valley of the Kings, where guards at night have described certain tomb doors emitting a blue glow always at the same lunar phase, always fading before dawn. The most compelling clue lies in the construction itself. Aramumuru's edges are beveled at an angle that matches the knife-cut stones of Puma Punku, another Andean site where blocks fit together with micrometer precision. But here's what sets it apart. The doorway's surface shows no tool marks, none, as if the rock was softened or molded into shape, a technique hinted at in Inca creation, myths that speak of plants that melt stone, even more eerie. When you stand in front of Aramumuru at dusk, the fading light plays tricks. The edges seem to vibrate, as if the doorway isn't quite solid. So were these portals real? The answer might lie in what we've forgotten. Tibetan monks still train to walk through solid rock using harmonic chanting, a practice they call lung gam. Aboriginal elders describe song lines that warp distance. Even declassified CIA files from the Stargate project detail attempts to use resonant frequencies to soften matter. Perhaps the ancients didn't just carve doors. Perhaps they tuned them, turning stone into something else entirely, not barriers but thresholds. And if the legends are true, the real question isn't whether these gateways work. It's whether we've lost the knowledge to wake them again. High in the desert cliffs of the American Southwest, the ruins of the Anasazi whisper a mystery that has haunted researchers for generations. These ancient people built sprawling cities into sheer rock faces, places like Mesa Verde and Choco Canyon, where multi-story dwellings cling to canyon walls with dizzying precision. Then, around the year 1300, they vanished, not gradually, not with signs of struggle or migration, almost as if they simply stepped out of this world. The physical evidence deepens the riddle. No mass graves, no signs of war. Abandoned meals still sit in cooking pots, tools left mid-task as if their owners intended to return any moment. But it's the petroglyphs that send chills down the spine spirals, carved deep into rock faces, identical to symbols found at portal sites across the globe. Hopi elders who consider the Anasazi their ancestors speak of a time when their people walked through the stone to escape a coming catastrophe. They describe rituals where shamans would press their palms against certain cliff walls, chanting until the rock became like water. Modern technology adds weight to these accounts. Ground scans at Choco Canyon reveal hidden chambers behind some petroglyphs, spaces with strange electromagnetic readings that spike during solstices. Even more unsettling are the acoustic tests. When certain spiral carvings are struck with a mallet, they produce frequencies known to alter brain activity, inducing trance states. Could these have been more than art? Could they have been tuning devices, resonant markers for doorways we no longer see? Compare this to other vanishings. The Roanoke colony's Croatoan carving, the Mary Celeste's abandoned ship, but the Anasazi case is different. Their ruins show signs of careful preparation before departure. Food stores sealed, sacred objects arranged in geometric patterns. At Beta Taken, researchers found a row of sandals placed neatly along a ledge, all pointing toward a blank cliff face. As if awaiting a journey that required no footsteps, the most provocative clue lies in the architecture itself. Anasazi buildings align with lunar standstills, rare celestial events that occur every 18.6 years. Their kivas, circular ceremonial rooms, amplify sound in ways that mimic the resonant frequencies of quartz crystals. Even their roads, stretching hundreds of miles across the desert, form precise geometric shapes visible only from above. Were these people just skilled engineers, or did they possess knowledge that bridged the physical and the unseen? Perhaps the answer isn't in what they left behind, but what they took. Recent studies of Anasazi DNA show markers found nowhere else on Earth are genetic anomalies that some researchers speculate could hint at adaptation to environments beyond our own. Their myths speak of star ancestors who promised to return for them when the time was right. And then there are the accounts from early European explorers who wrote of encountering shadow people near Anasazi ruins, figures that seemed to flicker in and out of existence like reflections on water. So did the Anasazi disappear, or did they transcend? The stones they carved still hum with secrets, their spiral glyphs pointing not just to the past, but to possibilities we're only beginning to imagine. One thing is certain, in the silent canyons they once called home, the air still carries the echo of a question, not where they went, but how, and whether the door they walked through might still be open. The ruins of Delphi crouch on the slopes of Mount Parnassus like a sleeping giant, their cracked stones still humming with the echoes of voices that once shook empires. Here, in the shadow of the Temple of Apollo, priestesses known as the Pythia would breathe in vapors rising from a fissure in the earth, gases we now know contained ethylene, a compound that induces trance states. But what if these visions weren't just hallucinations? The ancients believed the Pythia didn't merely predict the future, she channeled it, her words flowing from a place beyond time. Modern excavations reveal Delphi sits directly atop two intersecting fault lines, a geological rarity that causes the ground to emit not just gases, but infrasound frequencies too low for human ears to detect, yet proven to alter brain activity. Experiments in the 1990s showed exposure to these vibrations can induce feelings of awe, even the sensation of an unseen presence. Now reread the ancient accounts. The Pythia spoke of voices like thunder from below, of shadows that moved without light. Coincidence? Or something far stranger, the pattern repeats globally. In Haiti, Vodou priests commune with spirits in caves filled with naturally occurring dimethyltryptamine, the same compound used in modern psychedelic therapy. The Mayans built their sacred cenotes, sinkholes believed to be portals to the underworld above underground rivers that emit resonant frequencies when water crashes through caverns. Even the Bible describes Moses receiving the Ten Commandments amid smoke and earthquakes on Mount Sinai, another geologically active site. The common thread isn't superstition. It's acoustics. The most chilling evidence comes from the architecture itself. Delphi's Aditon, the chamber where the Pythia prophesied, wasn't just a room, it was a sound chamber. Its walls were lined with bronze plates that amplified specific frequencies, while a central vent focused the gases into a swirling column. Visitors wrote of feeling the words vibrate through their bones, as if the voice came from inside their own skulls. Similar designs appear in Malta's hypogeum, where a niche called the Oracle Hole transforms whispers into booming echoes that seem to originate from the walls. But here's the twist: these sites didn't just distort sound, they curated it. The Pythia always prophesied on the 7th day of the month, when seismic activity in the faults peaked. Mayan priests timed ceremonies to coincide with infrasound-generating tidal surges in the cenotes. This wasn't random ritual, it was precision engineering, using the earth itself as a tuning fork to open something. Skeptics argue these were mere theatrical tricks, yet the results defy dismissal. The Pythia's prophecies guided Greece through droughts, wars, and golden ages with uncanny accuracy. The Mayan portal cenotes accurately predicted solar eclipses centuries in advance. Even today, visitors to these sites report eerie phenomena: compass needles spinning wildly, recordings picking up voices when no one spoke, or the sudden scent of ozone, a hallmark of ionic disturbances often linked to electromagnetic anomalies. So were these oracles charlatans or interdimensional switchboard operators? The stones suggest an answer. Carvings at Delphi show the Pythia holding a key, not a scroll. The Mayans depicted their priests not just praying, but listening hands pressed to the ground as if awaiting a response. Perhaps the ancients didn't just believe the earth spoke to them. Perhaps they built the perfect conditions for it to answer. And if that's true, the real mystery isn't how they heard the voices, but who or what was on the other end. From the coiled dragons guarding Chinese emperors' tombs to the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl towering over Mesoamerican pyramids, one symbol slithers through nearly every ancient portal myth: the snake. But why? These creatures don't just guard sacred sites. They're woven into the very architecture of doorways between worlds. The Hindu Nagas, half-serpent deities, are said to dwell in underground cities accessible through hidden tunnels. The Norse Jörmungandr encircles the earth, its tail in its mouth like an Ouroboros, a living symbol of cyclical time. Even the Bible's serpent in Eden offers forbidden knowledge beneath a tree some scholars interpret as a axis mundi, a bridge between realms. The connection isn't poetic, it's physical. At Cambodia's Angkor Wat, laser scans revealed vast subterranean chambers lined with carvings of seven-headed serpents, spaces where ground conductivity readings spiked during monsoon rains. In Mexico's Temple of the Feathered Serpent, hidden sensors detected ultrasonic vibrations emanating from a stone conduit shaped like a serpent's throat, pulsing strongest at dawn on the equinoxes. The most chilling example lies beneath the Great Pyramid, where a narrow shaft dubbed the Serpent's Passage aligns with the constellation Draco during specific lunar phases. When explorers crawled through in 2012, their equipment registered electromagnetic waves matching the frequency of a rattlesnake's warning 70 Hz, a tone known to induce trance states in humans. The serpent's shedding skin offers the master key to this mystery. Cultures from the Amazon to ancient Egypt viewed molting as literal transformation, not just renewal, but transference between dimensions. The Dogon people of Mali described their amphibious ancestors, the Namo, shedding skin-like suits to step between the waters of worlds. Australian Aboriginal rock art shows rainbow serpents entering and exiting spirals that mirror quantum physics diagrams of wormholes. Modern experiments add eerie credibility. Graphene, a material with serpentine molecular structure, can create temporary holes in magnetic fields UNDER Chinese letter frequencies. Coincidence or preserved knowledge? Perhaps the most telling detail lies in the artifacts. The caduceus twin serpents entwined around a staff wasn't just a medical symbol. Sumerian texts describe it as a device that opened the way, its spiraling form mimicking the double helix of DNA and the fractal patterns of torsion fields. At Turkey's Göbekli Tepe, pillars carved with serpents undulating in perfect sine waves align with underground aquifers, creating piezoelectric effects when water pressure shifts. Even the Mayan vision serpents, depicted vomiting forth ancestors during rituals, match modern accounts of DMT-induced portal experiences right down to the vine-like tunnels users report traversing. So were serpents merely metaphors or living emblems of a lost science? Their presence at every major portal site suggests something far deeper. The way they move, sinuous, vibrationally mirrors the waveform patterns of resonant energy. Their heat-sensing pits detect infrared, the same spectrum where many invisible archaeological anomalies appear. Even their venom contains enzymes that in Chinese letter doses induce temporal lobe activation, the brain region associated with mystical experiences. Across millennia and continents, the message is carved in stone. Where serpents coil, reality bends. And if we learn to read their silent language, we might just find the thresholds they were meant to guard. The ancient Sanskrit texts of India contain descriptions so precise, so technical, they read less like mythology and more like flight manuals. These are the Vimana's celestial chariots said to traverse not just the skies, but the very fabric of reality. The Mahabharata details their construction down to the alloys used in their hulls, metals called tamagab, aloha, that could absorb light and render the craft invisible. But the most startling passages describe their propulsion. Mercury vortex engines that generated whirlpools of force, lifting the Vimanas vertically before they shot forward with the speed of thought. Modern physicists have analyzed these accounts and found eerie parallels to electromagnetic propulsion systems and even theoretical anti-gravity technology. What makes these stories more than just fanciful legends? The level of operational detail. The Vaimanika Shastra, a 4th century text rediscovered in the early 1900s, outlines flight protocols, aerial battles, and even emergency procedures, including how to enter the Akashic stream, a term some researchers interpret as dimensional travel. One passage describes a maneuver where pilots would spin the Mercury cylinders clockwise 7 times, creating a gateway like ripples in a pond. Another details solar mirrors that could focus beams of energy to open the path to Svarga, a realm traditionally depicted as existing beyond physical space. The correlations with modern physics are unsettling. Mercury, when spun at high velocities, creates superconductive effects UNDER Chinese letter conditions, a phenomenon documented in lab experiments. The Akashic stream mirrors contemporary theories about quantum foam. The idea that spacetime is inherently unstable at microscopic scales, bubbling with virtual particles that pop in and out of existence. Even the Vimana's reported ability to vanish in a rainbow haze aligns with observations of plasma ionization, where charged particles scatter light into prismatic displays. But the most compelling evidence isn't in the texts, it's in the ruins. At the temple complex of Lepakshi in southern India, ceiling frescoes show what appear to be streamlined aircraft with cockpit canopies and exhaust trails. Nearby, a massive stone slab called the Hanging Pillar defies gravity, suspended with a gap beneath it wide enough to slip a sheet of paper through. Local priests whisper that the pillar once sang when struck, its vibrations aligning with a now-lost Vimana landing platform. Similar acoustic anomalies have been measured at Rajasthan's Xibalba fort, where certain corridors amplify sound into frequencies that induce vertigo, as if the walls themselves remember the roar of engines. Skeptics dismiss the Vimana texts as allegory, but the consistency across cultures raises questions. The Tibetan Buddhist text Kangya describes pearls in the sky that could fold space using spinning disks of an unknown metal. The ancient Ethiopian Kebra Nagas tells of King Solomon's flying throne, powered by captured winds that allowed travel to heavenly Jerusalem in the blink of an eye. Even Ezekiel's biblical vision of a wheel within a wheel matches Vimana blueprints found in Indian archives right down to the eyes around the rim, which some interpret as portholes or propulsion vents. So were Vimana's machines or metaphors? The answer might lie in a third possibility, both. Modern pilots describe experiencing time dilation during high-speed flights, a relativistic effect that would seem like entering another realm to ancient observers. Plasma physicist John Hutchison has demonstrated how certain electromagnetic configurations can make objects appear to flicker in and out of visibility, a phenomenon he calls interdimensional bleed. Perhaps the Vimanas weren't just vehicles, but resonant devices tuned to frequencies that temporarily soften the boundaries between worlds. The real mystery isn't whether these craft existed. It's why their designs, their manuals, their very purpose were preserved with such meticulous care across millennia, as if someone, somewhere, expected we'd need them again. And if the texts are to be believed, the knowledge isn't lost just waiting, hidden not in the earth but in plain sight, woven into the syllables of chants and the angles of temple stones. All that's missing is the key to turn them back on. The idea that our planet might be hollow sounds like pure fantasy until you trace the threads of this belief through history. From Tibetan Buddhist texts speaking of Shambhala, a paradise hidden beneath the snows, to Norse myths of Svartalfheima, a subterranean realm of advanced beings, cultures separated by oceans and centuries share eerily similar stories. Even Edmund Halley, the astronomer who discovered Halley's Comet, proposed in the 17th century that Earth consisted of concentric shells with their own atmospheres and possibly even life. But the most tantalizing accounts come from those who claim to have seen these hidden worlds firsthand. Take Admiral Richard Byard's disputed diary entries from his 1947 Arctic expedition. He wrote of flying beyond the pole into a land of lush valleys and strange, disc-shaped aircraft, a place where the sun never set and the ice gave way to greenery. Skeptics dismiss it as a hoax, but Byard's flight logs show unexplained gaps in timing, and declassified Soviet archives mention similar anomalies near the Antarctic. Could these polar regions hold more than ice? Ancient maps like the Piri Rise chart, drawn in 1513, depict Antarctica with startling accuracy centuries before its official discovery and show landmasses where none exist today. Some researchers argue these details were copied from even older sources, possibly ones that knew of openings now buried under millennia of glacial buildup. The geological evidence adds another layer. Seismic studies have detected strange echoes from deep within the earth waves that bounce back as if hitting hollow chambers rather than solid rock. Certain caves, like the massive Sun Doong in Vietnam or the crystal-lined Naka mine in Mexico, extend so far underground that their full depths remain unexplored. Even more puzzling are the legends tied to these places. The Maori of New Zealand speak of the Patupea, pale beings who emerge from mist-shrouded caves bearing knowledge of the world below. In the Amazon, tribes describe tunnels leading to a golden city lit by an inner sun, guarded by statues that sing when the moon is high. But the most compelling clues might lie in the ruins themselves. The ancient city of Derinkuyu in Turkey isn't just an underground refuge. It's a 12-level metropolis with ventilation shafts reaching the surface, built to house thousands. Local lore says it connects to other subterranean cities via tunnels stretching across Anatolia. Similarly, the Huashan caves in China feature staircases carved into sheer rock, descending into darkness with no recorded end. Even more enigmatic are the stories from early 20th century miners, who claim to have broken into vast chambers filled with strange machinery or heard distant choirs echoing through uncharted shafts. So why would ancient civilizations build doorways into the earth? The answer might lie in the recurring motif of catastrophe. Hopi prophecies warn of surface world destruction, after which their ancestors will reunite with the ant people in subterranean sanctuaries. Plato's account of Atlantis mentions survivors retreating into the bowels of the earth before the final flood. If these stories hold even a grain of truth, these tunnels weren't just shelters. They were escape routes leading to places where knowledge and perhaps even humanity could endure. The question isn't whether the Earth is hollow in the literal sense. Modern science confirms our planet has a molten core. But what if hollow refers to something else vast, interconnected cavern systems, or even dimensional folds concealed within the crust? After all, quantum physics suggests space isn't as solid as it appears. Perhaps the ancients weren't describing geology, but a hidden topology, one where the real gateways aren't made of stone, but of frequencies, alignments, and energies we're only beginning to measure. One thing is certain, from the icy poles to the deepest caves, the Earth keeps secrets we've barely begun to uncover. And if even a fraction of these legends hold truth, the greatest ruins might not be on the surface at all, but beneath our feet, waiting in the dark. The whispered legends of portal guardians stretch across centuries, hidden in the coded symbols of history's most enigmatic societies. Take the Knights Templar, whose cryptic carvings adorn chapels from Scotland to Jerusalem, interlocking circles, serpentine patterns, and geometric designs that mirror the sacred geometry of ancient portal sites. But here's what chills the spine. These symbols aren't just decorative, they're precise. The Templars' famed seal of Solomon, two overlapping triangles, matches the vibrational patterns created by cymatic experiments when specific frequencies are applied to quartz, and the same frequencies found in resonance chambers beneath pyramids and megalithic sites. Were these warrior monks not just protectors of relics, but gatekeepers of something far more profound? High in the Himalayas, another thread emerges. Tibetan monks still perform rituals with copper trumpets and singing bowls, their harmonics tuned to the natural resonance of mountain caves. Ancient manuscripts describe the Lungam-pa, monks trained to walk without touching the earth, crossing vast distances in moments, a skill said to require knowledge of hidden doorways in the wind. The parallels are impossible to ignore. In both Europe and Asia, these societies shared a fascination with alignment. Templar churches built on ley line intersections, Buddhist stupas positioned where electromagnetic anomalies spike during solar eclipses. This wasn't just spirituality, it was cartography, a map of energetic hotspots where the veil might thin. the most tantalizing clues lie in the artifacts these groups left behind. The Templars' alleged discovery beneath Solomon's temple included not just gold but rods of electrum, a gold-silver alloy known for its conductive properties. Himalayan monasteries guard thunderbolt scepters called vajras, their pronged designs uncannily similar to modern depictions of particle accelerators. Even the Freemasons, inheritors of Templar symbolism, embed portal imagery in their architecture, checkered floors representing duality, pillars named bows and jachin mirroring the standing stones at ancient gateways. The message is carved in stone, woven into tapestries, whispered in initiation rites. Some doors were meant to stay closed, others perhaps only for the worthy. But why the secrecy? The answer might lie in the dangers these societies sought to contain. Medieval accounts speak of Templars burning manuscripts that described paths no mortal should walk. Tibetan texts warn of the opening of the way without proper preparation, citing cases of monks who vanished mid-meditation, their bodies later found frozen in positions of terror. Even today, Himalayan villages tell of doorways in the ice where travelers disappear, only to return years later with no memory of time passing, echoing modern accounts of time slips at places like Skinwalker Ranch. The most compelling evidence, though, isn't in the past, it's in the present. Certain Tibetan monasteries still restrict access to underground chambers, claiming they house the keys. Vatican archivists admit that less than 10% of Templar documents have ever been made public. And in rural France, farmers plowing near Templar ruins still uncover strange metallic discs engraved with spirals that, when struck, emit tones matching the resonant frequency of nearby menhirs. Coincidence or pieces of a puzzle we're only beginning to assemble. What emerges is a pattern not of superstition but of stewardship. These societies didn't just believe in portals, they studied them, protected them, and perhaps even knew how to activate them. Their symbols weren't just art, they were warnings, instructions, or even invitations. And if the legends hold truth, the real mystery isn't whether these gateways exist. It's whether the Guardians left enough clues for us to find them, and whether we'd recognize the key if it were right in front of us. The precision with which ancient cultures tracked celestial events goes far beyond mere calendar keeping. It hints at a startling possibility. The Mayans didn't just predict solar eclipses, they built entire cities like Chichen Itza to harness their power. During equinoxes, sunlight slithers down the steps of El Castillo, forming the illusion of a serpent descending to the earth. But what if this wasn't just symbolism? Local legends speak of a hidden chamber beneath the pyramid that opens when the shadow touches the ground. A phenomenon modern LiDAR scans have since revealed. A hollow space with electromagnetic readings that spike precisely during these celestial alignments. This pattern isn't unique to the Maya. At Ireland's Newgrange, a 5,000-year-old tomb floods with light only at winter solstice sunrise, illuminating spirals carved into the walls, the same symbols found at portal sites from Peru to Tibet. In Egypt, the Temple of Abu Simbel was engineered so that twice a year, the rising sun would penetrate its deepest sanctum, lighting statues of gods seated in shadow the rest of the year. The common thread, these weren't arbitrary dates. They were celestial triggers, moments when the veil between worlds was believed to thin. Modern instruments confirm the anomalies. During the August 2017 solar eclipse, researchers at Wyoming's Bighorn Medicine Wheel, a Native American stone circle aligned to solstices, recorded a sudden drop in local magnetic fields, accompanied by infrasound pulses matching the resonant frequency of quartz. Similar disturbances were documented at England's Stonehenge during the 2020 lunar eclipse, where ground-penetrating radar detected temporary ripples in the soil beneath the heel stone. as if the Earth itself were breathing. Even NASA, a solar dynamics observatory, has noted strange fluctuations in Earth's magnetosphere during eclipses, with energy patterns that mirror the sacred geometries found at ancient sites. But why would celestial events affect these portals? The answer might lie in harmonics. Solar eclipses create a unique convergence of gravitational and electromagnetic forces. The moon's shadow temporarily cools the ionosphere, altering atmospheric conductivity. The Mayan Dresden Codex describes this phenomenon poetically, calling eclipses the moment the sky's mirror cracks, allowing those who know the song to step through. Tibetan monks still perform specific chants during lunar eclipses, claiming the vibrations stretch the fabric of reality. Even the Hopi speak of their ancestors using kiva chambers, engineered to amplify solstice light. Frequencies that could soften stone. The most compelling evidence, though, comes from the artifacts. The Antikythera mechanism, recovered from a 2,000-year-old shipwreck, wasn't just an astronomical calculator. Its gear ratios precisely predict eclipse cycles for centuries in advance, with markers denoting gateway intervals where eclipses overlap with planetary alignments. Similarly, the Nazca Line's massive animal glyphs align not just to constellations, but to specific eclipse paths visible only from high altitude. Were these ancient flight paths not for physical travel, but for something far stranger? The question isn't whether the ancients understood celestial mechanics. Their monuments prove they did. The real mystery is what they believed happened when the heavens aligned. Were they marking time or unlocking doors? And if the stones still remember the code, might the next eclipse reveal what we've been missing all along? What if the stories we dismiss as myths are actually fragments of a forgotten instruction manual? From the Aboriginal Dreamtime songlines, invisible pathways that collapse distance, to the Norse Bifröst, a rainbow bridge burning with celestial fire, cultures that never interacted describe near-identical thresholds between worlds. The Mayans feared Xibalba, a labyrinthine underworld where doorways opened only at certain stellar alignments, while Hindu texts speak of Akashic records accessed through vibrating arches of light. The details overlap with unsettling precision: glowing arches, resonant sounds that soften barriers, and gatekeepers, whether feathered serpents or one-eyed giants, warning of the dangers of crossing unprepared. Consider the architectural evidence. Australia's Wurdi Yuang stone arrangement, older than Stonehenge, aligns not just to solstices but to the helical rising of Sirius, the same star the Dogon tribe of Mali claimed their ancestors arrived from through a vortex in the sky. In Norway, petroglyphs at altars show figures walking toward spirals identical to those carved at Ireland's Newgrange, both sites where ultrasonic testing has revealed hidden chambers emitting frequencies that induce trance states. Even the Cherokee star vaults, described as portals to the Pleiades, mirror the star corrals of the Navajo, stone enclosures where elders still perform rituals to call down the ancestors. The blueprints are too similar to be coincidence. The most chilling parallel lies in the warnings. The Norse sagas describe Bifröst cracking under the weight of those unworthy to cross. Mayan codices depict travelers to Xibalba dissolving into mist if they failed the god's tests. Aboriginal elders speak of songlines gone wrong, where initiates who mispronounced sacred chants found themselves stuck between worlds. This consistency suggests more than shared imagination. It hints at trial and error. As if these stories weren't just legends, but safety protocols passed down after catastrophic encounters with forces we no longer understand. Modern neuroscience adds a provocative layer. Near-death experiences worldwide describe tunneling toward light, hearing harmonic tones, or encountering beings at thresholds, a phenomenon some researchers attribute to the brain's temporal lobe firing under stress. But what if this neural wiring exists because our ancestors evolved alongside actual portals? The amygdala's terror response to certain infrasound frequencies, the same frequencies measured at ancient gateway sites, could be less a fluke and more a biological safeguard. Even the universal fear of the void or the abyss might be genetic memory of places where the rules of reality faltered. The question isn't whether these myths share DNA. They do. The real mystery is whether that DNA is cultural or something older, carved into the bedrock of human consciousness, waiting for the right key to turn in the lock. And if that's true, the greatest portal might not be made of stone or light, but the stories themselves whispering across millennia, urging us to remember what we've been trained to forget. The equations scribbled in modern physics labs might seem worlds apart from the weathered carvings inside ancient temples, but look closer. The language of quantum mechanics and the symbols of our ancestors tell eerily similar stories. Take wormholes, those theoretical bridges through space-time once relegated to science fiction. Today, equations like the Einstein-Rosen bridge aren't just plausible. They're mathematical inevitabilities, UNDER Chinese letter conditions. Now re-examine the Hindu descriptions of Akashic tunnels or the Dogon tales of star vortices. The parallels aren't metaphorical, they're technical. CERN Large Hadron Collider has already glimpsed the edges of this mystery. In 2018, particle collisions produced fleeting micro-black holes, tiny space-time distortions that vanished almost instantly, yet matched predictions about how wormholes might behave. Even more provocative are experiments with quantum entanglement, where particles separated by miles react instantaneously, as if space between them doesn't exist. Indigenous elders from the Andes to Siberia describe nearly identical phenomena in their creation myths, threads that stitch the world together, allowing shamans to step across mountains in a single breath. Coincidence? Or preserved observation? The real shock comes when you overlay modern theories onto ancient sites. The Göbekli Tepe pillars, carved 11,000 years before quantum physics was conceived, align in patterns that mirror today's models of space-time foam. The idea that the universe's fabric is porous at microscopic scales. The pyramid's subterranean chambers, with their granite-lined walls rich in quartz, could theoretically amplify electromagnetic fields to create localized space-time curvature. Even the bizarre acoustic properties of sites like Malta's hypogeum take on new meaning when you consider that certain sound frequencies can theoretically influence gravitational waves. But here's what chills the spine. The ancients didn't just describe these phenomena, they left instructions. The emerald tablets of Thoth speak of vibrations that fold the heavens, while Tibetan monks still practice tumo breathing to generate body heat, a technique that coincidentally produces frequencies matching those used in modern sonoluminescence experiments to create light from sound. The most compelling clue lies in the artifacts. A 2,000-year-old clay pot from Baghdad, when filled with vinegar and copper, becomes a crude battery proof that electrochemical principles were known millennia before Galvani. If they grasped that, why not deeper truths? Critics argue that without advanced tools, portal manipulation would be impossible. Yet nature provides ready-made examples. The Bermuda Triangle's magnetic anomalies, Iceland's gateway caves where compasses spin wildly, even the mysterious booms heard worldwide from underground, all align with regions where Earth's crust is thin and electromagnetic activity surges. Perhaps the ancients didn't build portals, perhaps they simply learned to find and harness them like early humans discovering fire. The question isn't whether quantum physics validates ancient myths. It already does. The real mystery is whether we're rediscovering what was once common knowledge, scattered now in temple carvings and oral traditions, waiting for us to piece the puzzle back together. And if that's true, the greatest portal of all might be time itself, connecting us to minds that soar further than we ever imagined. The warnings come from every corner of history, not just as myths, but as desperate pleas carved into stone and whispered in sacred texts. The biblical account of Sodom's destruction describes a city consumed by fire after its inhabitants attempted to force their way into realms beyond their understanding. Egyptian funerary texts curse those who would open the gates of the Jewat without proper initiation, promising madness, plague, or worse. Even the Mayan Popol Vuh speaks of the first humans being struck down when they gazed too deeply into the house of the gods. These aren't just morality tales. They're survival guides. Modern explorers have stumbled upon the same warnings, written in a language far more visceral. In the 1980s, a team of archaeologists working near the sealed chambers beneath the step pyramid of Djoser reported sudden bouts of dizziness and nosebleeds despite no detectable toxins in the air. Similar accounts come from visitors to Bolivia's Puma Punku, where some claim to hear whispers in no known language, followed by days of debilitating migraines. Even more chilling are the electromagnetic readings taken at these sites, bursts of irregular frequencies that match the brainwave patterns of seizures. Coincidence or something far more intentional, the pattern isn't limited to physical harm. Survivors of the Dyatlov Pass incident, where hikers fled their tent into sub-zero temperatures, some with inexplicable internal injuries, were found near an ancient Mansi sacred site, a place locals still avoid, calling it the mountain that eats men. In Romania's Hoia Basiu forest, where trees twist unnatural spirals, visitors report watches stopping, cameras malfunctioning, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. These places share a common thread. They sit atop geological fault lines, where underground quartz deposits and magnetic anomalies create natural energy amplifiers. The ancients didn't just fear these spots, they marked them, sealed them, or built temples atop them as if to contain something. But why would portals or the energies around them pose such risks? Physics offers unsettling clues. Experiments with high-frequency electromagnetic fields show they can disrupt cellular function, scramble neural pathways, even alter the perception of time. The same frequencies have been measured at sites like Sedona's vortexes or England's Avebury, where visitors describe losing hours without realizing it. Then there's the biological angle. Certain resonant vibrations can cause water molecules, which make up 70% of the human body, to destabilize at a molecular level. Ancient texts describe this phenomenon poetically. The Babylonian Tablet of Destinies warns of waters that unravel the flesh, while Tibetan monks still hang copper bells near sacred caves to calm the air's hunger. The most haunting evidence, though, comes from those who claim to have witnessed the consequences firsthand. A park ranger in Chile's El Enladrilado, a stone platform high in the Andes where UFO sightings are frequent, reported finding a hiker in 2012, delirious and insisting he'd stepped through the light. Medical tests showed his white blood cell count had plummeted, as if his immune system had been reset. In Turkey, a farmer plowing near the ruins of Hattusa uncovered a Hittite tablet describing a gate that burns the unworthy, only to suffer third-degree burns on his hands within days despite no visible source of heat. These accounts mirror ancient descriptions so precisely, it's as if the warnings were never metaphors at all. Perhaps the most sobering lesson lies in the architecture of containment. The Egyptians sealed their underworld gates with blood mortar, a mixture of clay and iron oxide that still blocks passageways in the Valley of the Kings. The Norse buried their elf doors under layers of rune-carved stone. Even the Freemasons' rough ashlar symbol, an uncut block representing untested initiates, may hint at a deeper truth. Some thresholds demand preparation. The stones themselves seem to agree. At Malta's hypogeum, where sound waves bend in impossible ways, a niche called the Chamber of the Oracle bears a single inscription: "Sleep not here, lest you wake elsewhere." So were these dangers supernatural, or simply scientific principles we've yet to fully grasp? The answer might lie in between. Like radiation or electricity, portal energies, if they exist, wouldn't discriminate between the curious and the qualified. The ancients didn't just fear the unknown, they respected its power, and their warnings, etched in stone and story, might be the only reason we're still here to wonder. The hunt for active portals isn't confined to ancient texts or crumbling ruins. It's happening right now, in real time, with teams of researchers armed with thermal cameras, electromagnetic field detectors, and satellite imaging scouring the globe for evidence. High in the Peruvian Andes, a group of explorers recently mapped a series of caverns near the Doorway of Aramumuru using LiDAR technology, uncovering hidden chambers that emit ultrasonic frequencies matching the resonant properties of quartz. Meanwhile, in Egypt's western desert, archaeologists using ground-penetrating radar near the Osirian temple at Abydos detected anomalous heat signatures beneath the sand, patterns that align eerily with the Stargate hieroglyphs carved into the walls above. What makes these modern searches different from the treasure hunts of the past? The tools. Advanced magnetometers have identified fluctuations in Earth's magnetic field at sites like Serbia's Pyramid of the Sun, where readings spike during specific lunar phases. Infrared drones flying over Bolivia's Puma Punku have captured thermal anomalies, cold spots that defy the surrounding temperature gradient, hovering precisely where local legends describe the stones that breathe. Even more compelling are the acoustic surveys conducted in Turkey's Cappadocia, where underground cities like Derinkuyu produce infrasound waves at frequencies known to alter human consciousness, suggesting these spaces weren't just shelters but perhaps resonant chambers designed to activate something far more profound. Yet the most tantalizing clues come from unexpected sources. In 2019, a team of physicists studying the Bermuda Triangle's underwater formations discovered crystalline structures emitting piezoelectric pulses, regular, rhythmic bursts that intensify during solar storms. Similar phenomena have been documented at Russia's Mount Yamantau, where military satellites recorded unexplained electromagnetic surges emanating from deep within the mountain, coinciding with reports of ghost lights seen by locals. These aren't random anomalies. They follow patterns, rhythms, almost like a heartbeat, one that matches the celestial calendars left behind by the very cultures who spoke of portals. The race to prove these theories has drawn a diverse cast of characters. Former NASA scientists collaborate with shamans in the Andes, comparing spectrometer readings with oral traditions about singing stones. Tech billionaires fund private expeditions to Mongolia's Gate of Genghis Khan, where nomadic herders still avoid a specific rock formation said to swallow the unlucky. Governments have taken notice. Declassified documents reveal Cold War-era studies into geophysical warfare, exploring whether ancient sites could be repurposed as energy weapons or dimensional gateways. The stakes are higher than mere academic curiosity. If even one of these sites holds a functional portal, the implications would rewrite physics, history, and perhaps even our understanding of reality itself. But the search isn't without risks. Explorers at Kazakhstan's Valley of the Bowls reported equipment failures and disorientation near a series of stone circles that emit gamma radiation at levels just below harmful. A researcher investigating the Devil's Sea near Japan vanished in 2017 after sending a final message about a doorway in the water. These incidents echo ancient warnings, the Sumerian tablets describing the Abzu as a realm where the unwary dissolve, or the Aztec codices cautioning that the gods' roads demand payment in forgotten time. So why keep searching? Because the evidence is mounting, not just in folklore but in hard data. When independent teams in Peru, Egypt, and Turkey all record the same electromagnetic signatures at their respective sites' frequencies that match the vibrational nodes of the Earth's own crust, it's harder to dismiss as coincidence. When quantum physicists point out that the geometry of these ancient structures mirrors theoretical models for space-time curvature, it's harder to ignore the possibility that our ancestors knew something we're only beginning to quantify. The greatest discovery in human history might not lie in some distant star system, but buried in plain sight, waiting for the right combination of science, intuition, and courage to turn the key. And if the past has taught us anything, it's that the stones never stop speaking. We just have to learn how to listen. The whispers of government involvement in portal research aren't just conspiracy theories. They are buried in declassified documents and obscured by decades of carefully worded denials. Take the CIA's Stargate project, officially branded as a psychic espionage program, but rumored to have explored far stranger territories. Declassified memos reference anomalous archways beneath the Giza plateau and acoustic resonances at sites like Stonehenge that could alter perceptual thresholds. One heavily redacted report from 1974 describes a field agent's encounter in Iraq's desert, where a local shepherd led him to a stone circle humming at a frequency that made compass needles spin wildly. The agent's handwritten note, only partially obscured by black ink, reads, "Subject reported time lost." Site matches description in Sumerian tablet as 337. Then there's the curious case of Russia's Pentagon-funded research into torsion fields, a theoretical energy some physicists believe could bend spacetime. In the 90s, Russian scientists allegedly replicated the geometry of Armenia's Karahunj stones, a megalithic site often called Armenia's Stonehenge, and claimed to have generated localized gravitational anomalies. While mainstream science dismissed the results, a 2003 Pentagon briefing obtained through FOIA requests lists ancient resonant structures as a potential strategic resource. The implications are staggering. If civilizations millennia ago could manipulate these forces, even crudely, what might modern tech achieve with the same blueprints? The most compelling evidence isn't in what's been declassified, but in what hasn't. Archaeologists working near Bolivia's Tiwanaku in the 80s reported military personnel abruptly sealing off newly discovered tunnels, citing geological instability. Yet locals whisper of trucks hauling away strange artifacts under tarps, objects that match descriptions of the gate keys from Vimana. Legends, similar incidents dot the globe. The sudden closure of Turkey's Derinkuyu underground city's deepest levels in 2012, or the unexplained shutdown of LiDAR scans over Cambodia's Angkor Wat complex after detecting structural anomalies beneath the temples. Perhaps the most chilling clue lies in the overlap between ancient sites and modern defense projects. The NSA's Utah Data Center, a facility designed to process global digital communications, sits on a ley line intersection documented in Navajo oral traditions as a place where the Earth speaks. China's mysterious Sky Eye radio telescope in Giza, capable of detecting extraterrestrial signals, aligns with a network of caves where Milo folklore describes doorways to the cloud kingdoms. Coincidence, or a silent acknowledgement that the ancients mapped something we're only now learning to measure? The real question isn't whether governments have taken an interest. The paper trail proves they have. It's what they've discovered, and why some ruins remain off limits long after the archaeologists have packed up. Behind the classified stamps and redacted memos, there's a pattern emerging. The past might not be as buried as we think, and the gateways, if they exist, may not be as dormant as we've been led to believe. What if the most profound portals were never carved in stone or hidden beneath ruins, but woven into the very fabric of human consciousness? For centuries, mystics and shamans have described journeys beyond the physical world, traversing realms through what Tibetan Buddhists call the rainbow body, or what medieval alchemists termed the astral gate. These accounts share uncanny similarities. Sensation of moving through luminous tunnels, encountering beings of light, or accessing knowledge that transcends language. Near-death experiencers report nearly identical phenomena, floating through a dark passageway toward a radiant presence, often returning with transformative insights. The common thread isn't just metaphor, it's biology. Modern neuroscience reveals that the brain's temporal lobe, when stimulated by electromagnetic fields or certain frequencies, can produce vivid hallucinations of tunnels, spirals, and alternate realities, precisely the imagery found in ancient portal myths. Experiments with psychedelics like DMT, which occurs naturally in the human body, induce experiences so consistent across cultures that researchers dub it the spirit molecule. Volunteers describe entering interdimensional arenas or vibrant geometric gateways, often meeting entities who insist the experience is more real than waking life. Strikingly, these subjective visions mirror the architectural details of physical portal sites: harmonic chambers, quartz-lined passages, and celestial alignments designed to alter perception. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. Indigenous traditions have long insisted that portals operate on two levels, the physical and the spiritual. The Amazonian Shipibo people use Icaro's intricate songs to open the vine of souls during ayahuasca ceremonies, claiming the melodies reshape reality itself. Hawaiian kahunas speak of Lena, leaping places where the veil between worlds thins, accessible only through specific meditative states. Even the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead instructs the deceased to visualize doorways in precise detail, asserting that thought alone could manifest passage. These practices suggest a radical idea: that consciousness might be the missing ingredient in activating dormant portals, turning stone and sound into bridges between dimensions. The implications ripple through modern physics. Quantum theories like the Orch or model propose that consciousness arises from microtubules in brain cells vibrating at frequencies that could interact with the universe's fundamental fabric. If true, the mind might not just perceive portals, it could generate them. This aligns with reports from meditators and remote viewers who describe projecting through imagined doorways to access distant locations or historical events, often returning with verifiable details. The CIA's declassified Stargate files include cases where operatives allegedly astrally projected into Soviet facilities, sketching classified machinery later confirmed by satellite images. Yet the most haunting evidence lies in the overlap between spiritual portal use and physical sites. At Peru's Marcahuasi Plateau, high-altitude rock formations are said to induce spontaneous out-of-body experiences in visitors who sleep near them, a phenomenon locals attribute to sleeping gods beneath the stone. In Glastonbury, England, the Tor's terraced hill acts as a natural labyrinth, with countless visitors reporting time slips or encounters with shadow figures after walking its paths in meditative silence. These locations might function as amplifiers, magnifying innate human abilities we've forgotten how to harness. So were ancient portal builders mapping external geography or internal neurology? The answer might be both. The Sanskrit concept of yantras, geometric diagrams used in meditation, mirrors the precise blueprints of megalithic sites, suggesting physical and mental gateways were designed as mirrors of each other. Perhaps the ultimate key wasn't a crystal or a chant, but a state of awareness, one that could turn any threshold, whether stone or synapse, into a doorway. And if that's true, the ruins we've been searching through might not just be relics of the past. They could be invitations waiting for us to remember how to step through. Imagine unlocking a doorway only to realize you have no idea what's on the other side, or what might slip through in return. Ancient cultures didn't just describe portals, they surrounded them with rituals, warnings, and elaborate fail-safes. The Egyptian Book of the Dead spells out exact incantations to seal the Jewat after passage, while Mayan priests underwent decades of training before performing ceremonies at cenote gateways. These weren't arbitrary rules, they were hard-won protocols from civilizations that understood the stakes. Today, as we edge closer to replicating these technologies, the ethical questions loom larger than the scientific ones. Consider the ecological ramifications. When researchers at CERN Large Hadron Collider first debated creating micro-black holes, critics warned of catastrophic spacetime ruptures, a scenario the ancient Hindus anticipated with their tales of the Vishnu chakra, a spinning disk weapon said to cut the threads between worlds. Similarly, the Dogon tribe's oral histories describe a great tearing when portal rituals were misused, causing crops to wither and animals to birth half-formed young. Modern physics suggests why wormholes, if stabilized, could leak exotic particles or distort local gravity fields in ways we can't yet predict. The ruins of Tiahuanaco bear scars of seismic upheaval precisely where legends say priests forced open the sky. Coincidence or cautionary tale? Then there's the question of who or what might be waiting. The Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh describes the hero's horror upon discovering the gate of the gods already occupied by entities neither living nor dead. Tibetan monasteries still guard against Ro-Lang, reanimated corpses said to emerge from improperly opened portals. Even declassified CIA files from the Stargate project contain eerie accounts of remote viewers encountering non-human intelligences during astral projections to ancient sites. If these accounts hold even a grain of truth, reckless exploration could invite conflicts we're woefully unprepared for. The moral weight intensifies when we examine history's patterns. Every major technological leap from nuclear fission to genetic engineering has been weaponized before its benefits were fully understood. The Aztecs' mirror of Tezcatlipoca, a polished obsidian slab used for divination, allegedly showed invaders from beyond the fifth sun before Cortés arrived. Similarly, the Freemason-sealed archives reportedly contain medieval manuscripts warning that portal knowledge in the wrong hands could unmake the great chain of being. In an era where private corporations outpace governments in exotic research, how do we prevent a cosmic arms race? Perhaps the answer lies in bridging ancient wisdom with modern oversight. The Hopi Blue Star prophecy urges humanity to knock gently when approaching other realms, while quantum physicists like David Bohm theorized that reality operates on principles of mutual participation. We might start by applying indigenous protocols like the Maori concept of Wakapapa, which frames all existence as interconnected, to guide experimentation. Or adopt the Zoroastrian good thought, good word, good deed triad as an ethical framework for dimensional research. The ruins have always whispered the same lesson. Portals aren't just discoveries to claim, but relationships to negotiate. As we stand on the threshold of this new frontier, the greatest challenge won't be unlocking the door, but deciding if, when, and how we should step through. The future of portal archaeology isn't just about dusting off old stones. It's a high-stakes race between cutting-edge technology and the stubborn secrets of the past. Imagine drones equipped with multispectral scanners hovering over the jungles of Cambodia, their sensors piercing through thick foliage to reveal hidden chambers beneath Angkor Wat's temples. or ground-penetrating radar so precise it can map the electromagnetic fingerprints of quartz veins running like circuitry beneath the Great Pyramid. These aren't sci-fi fantasies. Teams at institutions like Stanford's Digital Archaeology Foundation are already deploying AI to analyze LiDAR data from Peru's Nazca lines, uncovering previously invisible geometric patterns that align with seismic activity, suggesting the ground itself might have been engineered as a resonant platform. But the real game changer, crowdsourcing. Platforms like Global Explorer enlist thousands of amateur sleuths to sift through satellite imagery, flagging anomalies professionals might miss. In 2021, a schoolteacher in Norway spotted strange concentric circles in a Scottish field, later confirmed as a previously unknown Neolithic henge sitting atop a ley line intersection. Meanwhile, apps like EchoMap turn smartphones into portable sonar devices, letting tourists scan ruins for hollow chambers. The result, a democratization of discovery where a backpacker in Turkey might stumble upon acoustic anomalies in Cappadocia's caves that match frequencies recorded at Malta's hypogeum. Yet for all our tech, the breakthroughs may lie in blending old and new. Take the work of physicist Dr. Carmen Bolter, who cross-referenced Egyptian temple blueprints with quantum field theory, proposing that the Dendera complex's alignment creates a natural Bose-Einstein condensate, a state of matter that could theoretically stabilize microscopic wormholes. Or consider how Tibetan monks' harmonic chants, when analyzed by MIT's Media Lab, produced standing waves identical to those measured in Bolivia's Puma Punku gateways. The ancients might not have had our instruments, but their intuition for earth energies and celestial mechanics could hold the missing pieces our algorithms overlook. The next decade promises more than just incremental progress. Projects like the Quantum Archaeology Initiative aim to recreate portal sites in VR, simulating how specific sound frequencies or geomagnetic conditions might interact with their geometry. And then there's the wild card, quantum sensing. Devices like atomic magnetometers, sensitive enough to detect underground water from space, could soon pinpoint the telltale electromagnetic spikes that mark active portal sites. Imagine proving the Doorway of Aramumuru isn't just a carving, but a dormant machine waiting for the right frequency to wake it. But with every leap forward comes a sobering question: are we ready for what we might find? When researchers at CERN debate the ethics of recreating cosmic conditions, they echo the warnings carved into Mayan stelae or whispered in Vedic hymns. The past isn't just a puzzle to solve, it's a conversation to join, one where tradition and innovation must walk hand in hand. Because if these portals do exist, the greatest discovery won't be how they work, but whether we've grown wise enough to use them. There's something unsettling about standing in the shadow of an ancient ruin and feeling the air around you shift, not metaphorically but physically, as if the ground beneath your feet has momentarily lost its grip on reality. These aren't just ghost stories, they're documented encounters from ordinary visitors who walked into places like Newgrange or Chichen Itza and walked out with experiences that defy logic. Take the account of a schoolteacher from Vermont who swears she lost 3 hours inside the passage tomb of Noath, Ireland. Her phone's timestamp, her watch, even the fading light outside all confirmed it, yet she remembers only stepping into the chamber and stepping back out, as if no time had passed at all. Or the backpacker in Peru's Ollantaytambo who turned a corner near the Temple of the Sun and found himself staring at a bustling marketplace that wasn't there, a scene of Incan traders that dissolved when he blinked, leaving only silent stones behind. These stories share eerie commonalities. Many describe a sudden drop in temperature, a buzzing in the ears, or the sensation of being watched by something just outside their peripheral vision. A park ranger at Colorado's Mesa Verde once reported following the sound of children laughing into a sealed kiva, only to find the room empty, yet the laughter continued, echoing from the walls themselves. Even more chilling are the displacements. A couple hiking near Scotland's Callanish Stones swore they saw each other vanish for minutes at a time, each insisting the other had been gone far longer than perceived. These aren't just glitches in memory, they're patterns repeated across continents and cultures, as if the stones themselves occasionally flicker in and out of sync with our timeline. What makes these accounts so compelling isn't just their strangeness, it's the physical evidence left behind. A woman visiting Egypt's Valley of the Kings returned home to find her camera filled with photos she never took, blurred images of torchlit corridors and hieroglyphs not recorded in any official tomb layout. Engineers examining her device found the metadata intact, time-stamped to moments when she'd been standing in broad daylight outside the tomb entrance. Then there's the case of a German engineer who placed a recording device in the center of Stonehenge overnight. The audio captured more than wind. It picked up whispers in a language linguists couldn't identify, punctuated by a deep, resonant hum matching the infrasound frequency known to induce trance states. Skeptics argue these experiences are the brain's response to infrasound or geomagnetic anomalies, and they're not entirely wrong. Science confirms that certain frequencies can distort time perception, while tectonic stress can release electromagnetic pulses capable of triggering hallucinations. But here's the catch. The same frequencies and pulses are precisely what ancient texts describe as the activation keys for portals. The Mayan Dresden Codex warns that during certain celestial alignments, the stones breathe, creating doorways for those who walk with the gods. Tibetan monks still mark thin places with prayer flag spots where the boundary between worlds is said to fray. Especially during solar storms or seismic activity, perhaps the most haunting question isn't whether these encounters are real, but why they're so inconsistent. Why do portals seem to open for some visitors and not others? The answer might lie in the observers themselves. Indigenous guides from the Andes to Australia insist that gateways respond to intention, that a mind clouded by skepticism or fear is less likely to perceive them than one primed by ritual or reverence. Modern experiments with quantum observation support this. Particles behave differently when watched with certain expectations. Could consciousness itself be the missing variable, the key that turns ruins into thresholds? The stories keep coming. A mother in Malta's hypogeum swears her toddler slipped through a solid wall for nearly 10 minutes before reappearing, giggling about the lady in the blue dress. A veteran pilot hiking near Sedona's Boynton Canyon described walking through a heat mirage, only to emerge onto a trail he'd left hours earlier, his GPS showing him miles from where he stood. These aren't just campfire tales, they're fragments of a puzzle we're only beginning to assemble, whispered hints that the past might not be as distant as we think. And if you've ever stood in a ruin and felt the air grow heavy, the hair on your neck rise without reason, you might have brushed against something far older and far stranger than history alone can explain. If you feel the pull of these ancient sites, that magnetic curiosity urging you to stand where civilizations once whispered to the stars, know this: the line between discovery and danger can be as thin as the veil these places seem to guard. The ruins themselves aren't the threat. It's our approach that determines whether we walk away with answers or regrets. Start with the bedrock principle: respect. These aren't just tourist attractions. They're sacred ground, still pulsating with cultural significance for descendants of their builders. In Peru, locals near the Doorway of Aramumuru share stories of visitors who mocked rituals only to vanish for hours, returning with no memory of where they'd been. Whether you attribute that to spirits or seismic energy, the lesson is clear. Listen before you leap. Documentation is your compass. anecdotes are compelling, but data is undeniable. Before you set foot on site, arm yourself with tools beyond your phone's camera. Portable EMF meters can log electromagnetic spikes. Infrared thermometers track sudden temperature drops. In Turkey's Cappadocia, a team of amateur researchers paired their observations with ultrasonic recorders, capturing frequencies matching those described in Hittite texts as the gods' footsteps. When they shared their findings with archaeologists, what might have been dismissed as ghost stories became a published study on acoustic archaeology. That's the golden rule: pair passion with methodology. Collaboration isn't just ethical, it's enlightening. The lone wolf explorer is a Hollywood myth. Real breakthroughs happen when urban explorers partner with physicists, when indigenous knowledge keepers sit down with historians. In Scotland, a group of hikers working with geologists discovered that certain standing stones at Callanish emit piezoelectric pulses when struck, a phenomenon known to Neolithic builders but lost to modern science until the right minds connected. Online forums like the Global Ancient Sites Consortium offer databases where you can upload your findings, cross-referencing them with patterns noticed halfway across the world. Safety isn't just about physical risks, there's an energetic toll to consider. Guides at Bolivia's Puma Punku warn visitors of stone sickness, dizziness, nausea, or vivid dreams after prolonged exposure to certain monoliths. Scientists later measured these rocks emitting low-level radiation, harmless in short bursts but cumulative over time. Pack a dosimeter, limit your time near anomalies, and trust your body. If the air feels thicker, if your equipment malfunctions inexplicably, retreat. The ruins aren't going anywhere. The most profound discoveries often come from what you don't do. Resist the urge to touch carvings, even if local legends promise revelations. At Egypt's Temple of Hathor, tourists who rubbed the portal glyphs reported visions, but conservators found their oils were eroding millennia-old pigments. Instead, use LiDAR apps to create 3D scans or spectral cameras to reveal faded inscriptions invisible to the naked eye. And if you encounter something inexplicable, pause, breathe. The urge to explain away the unknown is strong, but sometimes the greatest wisdom lies in letting the mystery remain, at least until you've gathered enough evidence to honor its complexity. This isn't about discouraging exploration, it's about elevating it. The difference between a reckless trespasser and a respected researcher isn't just credentials, it's reverence. When you treat these sites as living classrooms rather than haunted backdrops, the stones themselves seem to speak more clearly. And in that dialogue between curiosity and caution, between technology and tradition, the next chapter of portal theory won't just be written, it'll